my name is Phil Goddard. I live in Monument Beach. I'm a year-round resident since 1989. However, I did grow up here every summer as one of those summer kids, going back to the 60s. And my family's had a summer home here since the late 19th century. So long relationship with the town of Bourne, beautiful community, and the library is a big part of that. I grew up with the old library that is now a historic museum and a little library card with a metal clip on it. But my story I wanted to share with you, or just the impressions of this particular site and building, is that it was instrumental in my career and fulfillment of goals that I had for myself and has affected the town of Bourne in general. And what do I mean by that? Well, after college, I moved down here year-round and was looking to work into the environmental world, and unfortunately had a series of layoffs. And I would come to this space here, and they had a typewriter, a modern typewriter, not a 1930s Royal like I had in my family in the basement from my grandfather. And I would type up resumes, work on items. There was no internet back then. So it was a place to come and to get out of a routine and be professional, a work environment. So it was very important in that regard. It was also the studio for the recycling committee. I joined the recycling committee in 1989 as a founding member, Pam Olson being the founder, inspired myself and others to join to do recycling in the late 80s. This is 1989. And our first promotional video was shot in the conference room to my left, down the hall here. That is actually, clips of that are on the Town of Bourne website, and I'll explain that in a moment. And it was our original studio, and we then shot that, and it was the beginning of the educational campaign for recycling in the town of Bourne. We had met here, we talked about recycling, how it affected the environment, resources, and how we could do a good job in the town of Bourne. This is when around the country, recycling was just really starting to take hold. So the resource of this physical building as a meeting location, and in this case, studio, was instrumental in the formation and education about recycling in the town of Bourne. Continuing on that theme, I, through a series of jobs, started in the waste business coming out of the recycling committee. However, I got laid off several times, so again, this was a resource. And the recycling committee became a real avenue for my intellectual ambitions and outlet for that. And part of that was developing a plan for what would become the Town of Bourne Department of Integrated Solid Waste Management, where I currently work as a town employee and have done so for 25 years, and was a consultant coming out of the recycling committee. After a couple of jobs in the business, the town hired me. And in the early days of the formation of even thinking about taking our town dump, an online dump, and making it into a modern facility that it is today, I met with consultants here. I met with town officials to talk about those plans. We formulated ideas upstairs in the conference room near the director's office. I would drive down from where I was off Cape, a couple hours back and forth to talk about planning and the foundation and the conceptual model for what we were going to do with what we call affectionately ISWM, was formulated in this building. As a consultant for the town of Bourne, I met here in the mid-1990s, around 1995, 96, when the select board hired me directly after I was laid off from a major solid waste commercial company, commercial firm that was in the world of solid waste, that I actually got through my efforts on the recycling committee, researching where the town should go in the future. I was unemployed, and the recycling committee was an important part of my intellectual stimulus, if you will. And the library here was, as I mentioned earlier, a place where I could come and get my thoughts organized and type up a resume. That contract with the select board allowed me to meet with individuals in the town here and come up with what we now call the Department of Integrated Solid Waste Management, as I mentioned. And eventually, 2 other consultants were brought on board. We would have our weekly, bi-weekly meetings here on how we're going to brief the select board right in the conference room down the hall here. and then have lunch at Lobster Trap right down the street, where a lot of paperwork was done. And back in those days, Lobster Trap was a quiet local, locals, if you will, charm that we all love, and it was convenient to the library here. So the main point I wanted to make about that story, including the select board holding meetings here at that time called the Board of Selectmen, 3 full-time selectmen. This was the last form of that kind of government in the state, Massachusetts. Bourne was in the state. Would meet in there. We talked about requests for proposals for taking over the operation. We had other public meetings there. So an absolutely critical finance committee would meet there. So a lot of town business has been conducted in that room in this library, including my time helping develop the project in and as a consultant, a volunteer consultant, and then eventually as an employee that I am today. So be proud. I'm very proud of the fact that the library has played a role in helping provide the space and the support to our leaders in the town and staff and others to create a truly homegrown system that's very unique in all of New England. If people want to learn more, go to townofbourne.com, go to the Department of Integrated Solid Waste Management, a lot of information on there. So I wanted to give you a little behind-the-scenes look at how iSwim was formed. It didn't come out of thin air. There was a lot of discussion. It's self-funded and does not rely on taxes. And a lot of that thinking, how do we do this? How do we grow a town dump into a major facility, was created in this very space. So grateful to the residents and the voters, taxpayers, the town of Bourne, to keep this facility open, and those that upgraded the old school to provide that space. And as I mentioned, this helped me personally as a space to come as a young college graduate without internet back in the early 90s, late 80s, trying to figure out where I'm going to go in my life, trying to get my professional resume ready, thinking about the future. And of course, all the many years of taking out books and videos and putting videos that I've created at Bourne TV about what we do in world recycling in the very shelves of this library for folks to take out. We've put them on DVD, now they're on the internet, of course. One on the town, it's like a compilation of a lot of years. But for many years, you could get the old VHS from the recycling committee, including books about how to recycle and things like that from the committee over the years. So wanted to share that background with you, and my gratitude to the staff and the residents and the leaders of the town of Bourne for this place to be able to have those events and interactions that really led to something that's been very meaningful in my life personally. And hopefully to you out there that use the facility at the town of Bourne. So my congratulations. Let's have another 100 years to the community and with the library in whatever form it may come in the future. Thank you.